Cool. So we said fix some slide orders, but you just heard about the rebuttals. Now we're going to go to the actual presentation. So as soon as you get out of the about Evolve and what Evolve is, now you're going, okay, cool. Like I'm going to bring you through some. I'm going to bring you through Evolve's program and how we can add massive value to your agency. So just before we do that, I want to just give you an idea of like how many offices we're in right now and our distribution throughout the United States. We're in 10 different cities right now. We're adding about 2 to 3 people a month. So we have crazy growth goals. By 2022, we want to be around 100 employees. Why? We don't operate like some of the new players that are moving into the cyberspace that are just all about technology and not necessarily about the product and not necessarily about building the relationships. Our goal is to be in every major city throughout the United States, at least 25 in the next 3 years. And what we want to do is actually build relationships, go into your office and train your employees on how to actually sell coverage with the best product out there. So that's how we're treating it. Hopefully a year from now, you see another 5 cities pop up on this map. And yeah, it's very fun growing in fun cities. So looking at all the employees up here, so right now you're going to see that there's a lot of youth. Don't worry, our CFO is 65. But Evolve is changing how insurance is being treated from the perspective that when we hire our employees, we actually hire people that grew up with technology. And as a result, they have a really good handle on the different hack attacks that are out there, and they can speak volumes on the technology that's being hacked into. So it's pretty cool actually speaking with them about it. In addition to that, they are trained as cyber specialists. So they're only trained on one insurance product, and they're trained extremely thoroughly. So it's just a situation where you are speaking to a true specialist that really knows this coverage in depth and deep. Cool, and this is just a fun one. When you're looking at our current draft class right now, that's in training right now. This consistently changes, and we'll keep updating our website. Check it out with all the new people. Speaking of our website, this is just another little fun one, but it adds to our culture. Check out Caveman Productions. We actually are different from other insurance carriers out there as well, because we create marketing material video-wise. And just note, it's PG-13, but if you like to have a laugh, there's some good videos in here that will teach you about coverage. This is where they're probably going to laugh and go, oh my god, I've seen your video before. Cool. All right, so let's actually jump into right away what we're doing differently from the get-go that will help your agency out. So how are you currently quoting cyber right now? Bo, how are you quoting it?
Well, I'm trying to have my insurance complete these really lengthy applications. Half the time they don't send it back to me, so it makes us have to chase them time and time again.
And that's not uncommon. That's pretty much across the board for a lot of the markets that are out there, especially the admitted ones. And I'll give you, for example, this is one of our competitors that keeps copying our form. This is what their application looks like. It's 5 pages, and there's really in-depth security questions with a gigantic warranty statement at the bottom that would say, if you didn't fill this out correctly, we do not have to pick up coverage. Why is that a massive issue? Well, you have, like you're saying, CFOs fill out IT-related questions that they don't understand. So for the most part, there could be a lot of misinformation here. If you have a warranty statement that removes coverage, then you could be looking at an E&O claim against your agency because you told them that they have a great cyber product, but there's no coverage in the event of an actual claim, which is pretty scary. So Evolve's changing the game. We're changing the game by, and this is just gonna blow your mind, you don't have to have an application for a business under 50 million in revenue to get an actual price and quote. So all we need is the business name and revenue sent to us. 2 pieces of information. Wow. So, yeah, that's stupid. So the best brokers that we work with out there are actually automating this process with Evolve. So what they do is they data dump us. So they give us all the renewals for either the upcoming month or the best ones on a quarterly basis. And from there, Evolve creates all of the quote proposals with marketing tailored to those industries. We'll go into that. But if you could pull this information, we can prepare and get this all in advance for you to put in your proposals. So it's just one and done. Now you might be saying, I use Epic and Epic doesn't collect revenue. Well, the best way we found is there's usually one designated project manager that goes through some of the applications you already have on file. Take E&O applications, take commercial general liability applications. They're gonna have this revenue information. You just have to collect it. Once you do it over a year period, it's done. You don't have to do it again. So highly recommend data dumping us. It's just really, really efficient, and automation is the key to being more successful. Well, if you can't do that, you want to do the one-off system. We have a website. There's one button, get a quote. You go there. Brings you to the same questions, business name, revenue. We're going to ask for some contact details, and then we'll be in touch with you within 24 to 48 hours. And if you want to be like Han and Chewie and go into Lightspeed, aka get a quote as soon as possible from us, just email underwriting@evolvemga.com. That's ING as opposed to underwriters, but underwriting, anyway, Lightspeed. Now, if you want to bind coverage, we've also simplified that process. It's a one-page application. All we're asking, we've said it a bunch of times, business name, revenue, and if they've had a claim over $10,000 in the last 3 years, half this application is talking about the actual claims that are out there, because most people don't know what they actually look like, which is kind of hilarious. And you might be asked, so if you had pause rebuttal time, you might be asked, oh, well, if they've had a claim over $10,000, what do we do? Well, for the most part, we're going to write them, but we just need to know everything that happened, what they've done to mitigate that from happening in the future, and we want to make sure that they're, trying to avoid something similar happening again. And to date, I haven't seen anyone come up that hasn't given us enough information where we trust them and then actually write the account. So just know that we do want to know though, and if they're, you might even say here, like, if they're extremely negligent, then no prudent insurer would take them on, right? So this is just our lowest bar. Cool. All right, so if you want to judge a cyber program, the way you do it, if you want to complete the whole picture, is you have to look at 3 different pieces of the pie. What you get with the policy that's going to improve security, aka risk management. The actual policy, what's in it, the coverage, how broad is that coverage? And then third, once the claim happens, what's going to happen with the claims handler and how quickly is that claim going to be resolved? We've handled all 3 of these in the most efficient way possible, and we'll go through. So, first pillar is risk management. We actually offer $5,000 worth of risk management security vendors. Those vendors actually go out to your insured, and they will actually improve the overall security. Most competing carriers out there are going to say, oh yeah, there's a portal that you can access, and through the portal we have some information about claims that are out there. They're not actually providing services. These are all services, okay? If you were to get them on the open market, they would retail for about $5,000 in value, which is, if you do like as a sales pitch, what you could do is you could get this policy, the average price for a small business is $5,000, so it's a wash. If the premium is lower than $5,000, then they're actually netting services out of this in terms of value. There's no minimum premium, and they renew every single year. Pretty cool. We'll check a few of them out now. So, the number one thing right now that is causing claims, and you're going to hear this on repeat, but you have to know it, is employee-based error causes claims. So there's 2 things that we do and recommend for every single company out there to implement immediately. And these are going to train your employees how to not actually be the trigger for a claim. So the first one is Cyber Risk Aware. What is it? It's a phishing tool. It's a phishing tool that you can use against your own company and send out campaigns that look real, they're fake. And if you click on the link as an employee, then you get an e-learning video or report goes to management. I recommend giving that to your IT department and having them roll it out on a monthly basis. Most companies are paying for this anyway right now, and usually it's in like anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 in terms of the licensing for the software. Ningio, same concept, but this is one where it's gamified e-learning videos that actually train your employees on the common attacks that are out there, how to avoid them, and then they make it really fun with questions and games at the end to engage with your employees, and they go over every type of attack that we've seen to date. So these two things, and again, you could give that with your IT department and they can roll it out. But these two things are the quickest things you can do to create awareness within your own company. Secondary to that, in management, you need to understand what you're currently doing from a security level. So we've actually, we offer a report called BitSight that goes through about 50 pages of what you're doing and how you're doing it, and it's rated. So you're given a PIN score. That PIN score is going to be benchmarked to your own industry, and it's going to be out of 800, so you can see how you score. And then each individual security thing that's being measured is going to get a letter grade A through F. So if it's a C, D, or F, you're not doing well. If you're getting an A, you're doing perfect. Now, we did this at Evolve, and we took the report, we gave it to our IT department, and we said anything with a C, D, or F needs to be improved. Come back to us with your plan of action. They came back with about $2,000 to $3,000 worth of improvements that they could do based upon this, and then we actioned them, and then we retook the test and did a lot better. And we're a lot more secure now as a company. Now, a lot of companies out there are going to be spending anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 on what's called a pen test, penetration test, and this is a version of that, and it's free with your cyber insurance policy. There is a ton of information that is stolen every single year, and it floats around what is called the dark web, which is a pretty scary place. It's the illegal highway for information where hackers go to buy and sell stolen data. Well, we have a service that monitors that highway. Think of it as the highway patrol. I also like to think of it as a burglar alarm, that if you sign up for the annual license, you can essentially monitor your company and the information that is stored in your company. If it's tracked, then what they'll do is they'll say, hey, you might have had a breach. Well, you were prudent enough to buy a cyber insurance policy, you can submit a claim. If you don't, that's when regulatory bodies, if it comes out to the public, can step in and say, you lost all this information, you didn't tell anyone, and your fine or penalty could be a lot bigger. And then last but not least, one of the biggest issues right now in management is they're not building a plan around what happens if there's a data breach. Because if you take, for example, Equifax, they had a breach. It took about 3.5 weeks for the public to find out, and that's because people weren't telling the right people, and in a claim, time is money, so you need to have protocol in place that says, go to the following person in the company to then action it with management, and then from there, have a plan where you're gonna mitigate this and get rid of it as quickly as possible, which is called an incident response plan. So every company should have one, and we have the document set to help build one, and we can assist in building one. All right, beyond risk management, second pillar is coverage, and how broad that coverage is. So when you look at Evolve's policy, this is where we talk about this. We're a Lloyd's-based policy, so Lloyd's London, and we have found the right providers at Lloyd's to give us the broadest coverage available. And so we talked about first party is what makes our coverage better than any other market out there in terms of the limits that we offer and how new the first party coverage is. And so when you look at cyber liability, which is what a lot of people will say in the room here, liability claims are less than 10% of the claims that come in. It's actually pretty crazy. It's just really all first party coverage at this point. So the way that you got to think about this is that first party coverage is the way forward in terms of a really good policy. And that's going to be the Evolve difference. So starting off with insuring clause 1, you're going to see right away that we have unlimited reinstatement, meaning that all of our first party coverage, so that's going to be insuring clause 1, 2, and 3, reload every single claim that comes through. And for the insuring clause 1 is also a place where our policy is written like a claim. So every single claim, you're going to get 3 professionals involved. You're going to get forensics, data breach attorneys, and PR firms. That's all going to sit immediately within Insurance Clause 1. And what we did that was super cool is we took Insurance Clause 1 and we put it outside of the actual policy limit to mirror the policy limit. What does that mean? That means you're getting 2 for 1. So if you buy a $1 million limit, you're really getting $2 million worth of coverage. These costs go into a claim every single time, and they're in a separate tower, so you're not eroding the rest of your limits. Pretty sweet stuff. Insurance Clause 2, cybercrime. So this is where we are changing how insurance is being sold. I will tell you right away that we are one of the only policies out there right now that not only picks up the insured's bank account for wiring money to the wrong place, we pick up the senior executive officer's personal bank accounts, and we pick up the third-party bank accounts of clients if they wire money to the wrong place. At this point, you should know coverage well enough where you can go in at any point. I wouldn't go too far in depth unless they're asking questions. Oh, and you might, on this slide as well, go, and one of the cool things that we can do is we can go up to $1 million worth of limits. We have no risk management warranties, etc., etc. You can keep going with coverage. If you're with someone who's a non-technical coverage person, don't go in detail, but you got to judge that every single time. And then last but not least, we have coverage now that, and this is where I go into the system damage type coverage, dependent business interruption, supply chain failure, and you can even talk about the future of these attacks, which you could go into the, maybe on this one, you can go into the cryptojacking and things like that on just how we're different. Now, one other thing I want you to make sure of is if you're with someone who's non-technical, all you have to do is go, yeah, we have the broadest first-party coverage, and you can go and check it out. You're going to see full limits across the board here. You're going to see really good crime limits, and then you're going to see some of the most modern coverage that doesn't exist elsewhere in the marketplace. It could be as simple as that, just moving through it. And I can send through all of that post-presentation. That's what someone high level wants to hear, someone who like enjoys hearing about coverage. And you gotta gauge this again, it's all down to like how the person is and how you're reading them. So you can go as long as you want on coverage if they love it. So then the third pillar here is claims handling. Claims handling is something that no one really thinks about, but in an actual claim, like we said, time is money, right? So if you have someone who's non-technical handling your claim, which most of the admitted markets out there have a claims handler that handles every single line of insurance. They don't necessarily understand the forensics behind any sort of hack attack or data breach law. We're very different. Evolve within, when we set up, what we decided to do is our capacity providers and Evolve, we've invested into hiring internal cyber-specific or cyber-focused claims managers. So all they do is handle cyber claims. What does that mean? Well, that means when you have a hack attack and you call in, and by the way, you can call in for free on the 24/7 hotline, you're going to access a data breach attorney or a forensic expert who can say, hey, maybe I've seen that virus before, I know exactly what's happening, or you could have violated the following things legal in terms of like legality, so you need to do the following things. They're going to give you that opinion right away. And for example, these are the leaders, but Margaret Murphy used to be a partner at Wilson Elser, which is a data breach specialist almost used by every single cyber insurance market out there. And then Anthony Hess, he actually worked in forensics, leading a team that would come in after hack attacks at KPMG. So both very highly valued people that run a team now of over 20 people. Pretty crazy. And all of these people are former forensic experts or data breach attorneys. So again, free advice, we're doing different. All they do is handle cyber claims, and you can access them for free on our 24/7 hotline. That's going to come within like the second page of the policies that are issued. $0 deductible. If the claim gets really bad, that's when we bring in the professionals that need to do the dirty work. These professionals usually cost upwards of $500 an hour. And we're talking about data breach attorneys, forensic firms, all the additional costs that come with the complying with privacy law, and then PR terms as well. So, how can we support you selling more right now? You mentioned earlier that your buying ratio is kind of low. Here's some things that we've done that will significantly improve that buying ratio. By the way, I went to LMU, go Lions, great slide. If you look at the cyber market right now, if you look at the cyber market right now, 2018, we are getting close to about $5 billion in gross written premium, and we're talking about money spent by businesses in the United States on cyber insurance, and we're talking about standalone cyber insurance. Well, we've seen a 30% growth trajectory throughout the years. So we expect by 2025, the marketplace is going to be about $25 billion in gross written premium. We also know that right now, about 30% of businesses purchase. So you're going to see by 2025, nearly the market rounded out, kind of like employment practices liability happened in the 90s. EPL coverage, you probably lived through that. Well, cyber is a sales tool, and it's an angle that you can use to get into businesses because most of the brokers right now don't understand coverage, and most of them offer bad products. So, this is where we come into play. I highly recommend that we get a date after this meeting or in this meeting to follow up where I come back in and I actually speak to all of the account managers and the producers and train them on how to sell coverage. Because that's something where, at the end of the day, unless they understand where the claims come from and they can tie it back to coverage and then they can actually speak about claims examples, they're not necessarily going to understand or feel comfortable talking about this coverage or even feel comfortable selling this coverage. So that's where Evolve acts as a consultant to come in and train. Now, we will also jump on phone calls as well, and if we're local, do meetings to help close a deal. So these are all different things that you can utilize for us to help you feel more comfortable selling it. We're also going to do some pretty cool things that just come automatic. So with our quotes, we're going to put in industry-specific marketing that breaks down 5 core exposures for an industry with claims examples in that industry. And that's going to come with your quote. So it's something you can put in your proposal, and every industry likes to see what's going on within their own world. Now, you might get a rebuttal question being like, oh, how many industries do you have? Over 60. You might also get, do you have one for lawnmowers, whatever it is. You can always say that. We don't have it, we can look to make it, and go from there. That'll get them off your back. What we also do, which is different from any other market out there and any other wholesale broker, I would argue, is that we actually provide coverage comparisons that go into 75 plus points, where we analyze the contractual coverage that goes into these policies. Every single underwriter at Evolve is trained to do these. And everyone starts in underwriting before they go to sales. So, when you look at these, and when you want these, we recommend any quote that you have out there, just tell us the market, send us the attached policy, and we'll come back with a comparison. Green to green is matching coverage. Yellow, silent, or undefined. Red, there's a coverage hole. Now, we get this is a lot of information overload. That's why we put everything at the very bottom into a cheat sheet, so it guides you through the actual comparison. Now, I recommend keeping this internal and having a roundtable discussion with your own team to actually understand coverage. What you should keep as external and demand from us to help close deals is an apples-to-apples limit comparison. When I say apples to apples, what I mean is there's going to be 2 separate policies, Evolve versus the competitor. They're going to have the same types of coverage, but there's going to be different labels for that coverage. So what we can do is, you give us the competing quote, we're going to actually change the labels of the coverage so they match, and you're going to see the difference in the first party coverage that we discussed from the beginning. So you're going to see where there's cell limits, where there's no coverage, where there's full limits. The beautiful part, why I think this should be in your proposal, is that you can actually put the pricing, we're going to put the pricing in compared to the competing market, and you can upsell your actual client on, hey, this one's a little bit more expensive, Evolve is, however, you're getting 10 plus types of coverage. So, very useful tools, and my background in where I got all of these is I actually used to work and fight against the Marsh, Aon, and Willis's of the world and win using coverage and limit comparisons on publicly traded companies. So these things work at the highest level. So, I think the best thing that we can do before I leave, and you have to qualify this, you have to qualify this before you go into your meeting, but if there's any agency owner in there, that's where you can really like lay in here and say, the best test that I can possibly do to show our services is actually work on your own cyber insurance policy. So all I need right now is the revenue from last year. Do you have that offhand? You're only saying that to an owner of a business if you contract a CEO or a principal then. If not, you can say, hey, like we can actually do a quote for your own business. I would just need the revenue from last year and your current policy on file. We'll do a coverage limit comparison. Worst case scenario, you don't have to renew, or you don't have to change coverage over to Evolve. You can actually use us to benchmark our pricing and our coverage against the competing market. But best case scenario, we save you premium. We give you services you don't already have, access to our claims team to stop claims quicker, and improve your coverage across the board. So we'd love to help your own agency out. Also, use this as an opportunity to say, do you have any clients right now that we could potentially get business names and revenues before I leave? That might be a nice segue as well. And then you're writing those business names and revenues down, and then you're following up via email. Everything's going to be saved in the Evolve Cyber portal, so post me leaving, I'm going to send you a link. This link is a cloud link to Evolve's products, services, marketing material. It's all going to live in here. We update it on a daily basis, so I recommend bookmarking it. So in summary, when you are working with Evolve, you can feel safe knowing that we have the broadest product in the marketplace. And we change that product pretty much every year to stay 1 to 2 years ahead of all the competition. You're getting the benefit of a fixed distribution system where you have the best product and it's direct to retail insurance brokers like yourselves, meaning you're getting access to underwriters on US time for quicker turnaround, decision-making authority, and you're gonna get higher commission up front and build that relationship with our team. And then the last two here, business name revenue. You can data dump us, you can go to our website, you can email us. We're gonna come back and try to help you sell that policy. And ideally, we've already been in and giving you cyber specialist training on how to sell coverage. So, that is Evolve. Like I mentioned before, underwriting at Evolve MGA, light speed, business name revenue. And thank you for having me. Let's open up for questions right now. And we're done.